Last night, I watched Backrooms, an A24 production directed by a young Kane Parsons. It was only after watching the movie that I discovered he was 21 years of age and a YouTuber, and the film was based on a web series of him tackling the same concept. So well done to him. I hope he continues in the same vein and tackles more sequels in the Backrooms saga. These are some of my thoughts on the film. So if you haven't seen it yet, please close this because it is full of spoilers. So in Backrooms, our main character is Clark. He runs a furniture shop. His employee is Kat, short for Catherine. Our other main character is Mary. She is Clark's therapist, whom he visits. During one of these visits, we discover a bit of Clark's background, that his wife or girlfriend, partner, had left him at some point and kicked him out of his own house. Mary and Clark have a sort of role playing session, which Clark doesn't like, based on that same incident of that night. And it quickly becomes clear what was wrong in their relationship. The way he reacts, the way he lashes out at her, attacking her studying choice, her appearance, her body, etc., etc. And Clark hasn't dealt with these issues because during this role playing session, he reacts in much the same way as he did that night, and it gets quite heated and intense. Clark seems to sleep in his furniture shop, and in the shop there is a basement. One night there are some issues with the lights, so he goes down to play with the light switches there. He discovers what seems to be a concealed doorway somewhere along the wall, traces of light from the outside seeping through. He soon finds that one's hand and body can go through this doorway in the wall. Much startled, he does go through the other side and he finds himself in this yellowish environment, which turns out to be a sort of office maze full of corridors, passages, doorways, mostly empty, but here and there with pieces of nonsensical furniture or furniture jumbled together, or other things such as shoes and other objects or furniture half in the ground, as you would see in some kind of computer game. So Clark begins exploring this strange environment. He finds his way down to another room where there is a slope going upwards towards a small door. And there seemed to be another character on the other side where he came from. So he got frightened and quickly climbed up that slope, went through the tiny vertical door, and found his way else onto another part of this labyrinth. It is very reminiscent of the Neverhood game, if people have played that, and also Alice in Wonderland. So the next step is that Clark gets Kat and her boyfriend to come along with him. Our Kat's boyfriend, Bobby, has a camera or knows how to operate one. So he brings them along. Kat in particular is very hesitant about the whole thing, but they do go along with him. It turns out to be real because they also go through it. It's not an illusion on Clark's part. Bobby goes down another long tunnel. They tie a rope to him. He discovers dirty laundry and what appeared to be his shirt as well, notably, that he had been wearing in another earlier part. So he goes further. Cathy is very fearful, tells Bobby to come back. There seems to be something stirring ahead, some menacing force. So Bobby scrambles back up, cries out to them to pull him back up the tunnel, and they do pull him. But the rope, the knots, are not easy to undo up there. And that thing, whatever it was, pulls Bobby back with the rope and all of them along with it. We see streaks of blood. Bobby is gone. Something is disappearing. Cat scrambles, cries out, and she disappears as well. Eventually, it cuts over to Mary, the therapist. So Mary gets on her answering machine the message from Clark that he won't be coming back. And I forgot to mention that before he took Kat and Bobby there, he did speak to Mary about it, and she wasn't very believing, but he said he's going to come back with proof. So Mary makes her way to the furniture shop, goes down, sees the doorway marked in the wall, and enters. Shocked, but enters, starts discovering the place. At length, Clark finds her. He acts nice, but mysterious, and then he grabs hold of her, holds her, and she passes out. Next thing, she wakes up and she's tied to a chair. They're sitting at a table. There are strange, not living characters. One sitting at the table and another representing Barbara, it seems, at the other end of the room. It's a kitchen. Here we see that Clark has become the villain, so to speak, and he's replaying out the last night with Barbara with Mary. So he puts her hair on her head and so on. And there's some other horrific touches, and he's threatening her. So eventually what it turns out is that Mary says, "I'm not your wife," and after playing along for a while, and she tells him off that he doesn't want to change, and he shouldn't change because this is what he is. He's wired that way. It seems to strike a note when she tells him off, and she asks to be let go. He seems to agree. He goes to cut the rope. But while he's doing that, the menacing force which had been threatening or roaming this corridors finally makes an appearance. Seems to be a large monster in the form of a pirate, because Clark had used a pirate persona for the advertisements of his furniture shop. Clark tries to put it at ease, but it attacks him, and Mary escapes in the meantime. So she runs from this monster. The monster has killed Clark, and she gets away through another surreal environment, going from one room to another, climbing up a stairway, office rooms all around, over a void, and finds a way to this fictional Backrooms version of the furniture shop, where she fights the monster. She runs and manages to escape through another tiny little crack, and then finds men in suits get her, and she's in a medical facility. This is at the end of the movie. Finally, she talks to someone called Phil, I believe, and he doesn't quite explain what this entire place is, or even if she's going to be let go. Phil says that his company used to make MRI machines, but not anymore. He's about to explain what this is or what they do, but the script doesn't. So it's all left a mystery. But he says that he has been exploring this place for some time. The film then closes with echoes of Mary's memories from her life experiences. It ends. So that's Backrooms. I haven't analyzed or understood the entire thing, but I've had some thoughts about it. So it seems to be that the entire Backrooms labyrinth of the yellow, sprawling rooms, there is an element of the psyche, the mind that is suppressed, what is underneath the mind. And this creature that has been roaming in the corridors, this pirate-like creature, is obviously a representation of Clark's negative traits, that anger within him that he had suppressed, but is still there latent, and which had come to the fore, for example, in Barbara's case, in reality, or in the role play. So this creature is lurking the corridors, and it's notable that the creature, or the pirate, whatever you want to call it, was right down in a room whose entrance was a tunnel going downwards, and that was full of dirty clothing, etc. So it's as if it's a suppressed form, kept hidden in a prison-like room with all the bad elements of one's mind, the dirty clothing. I would say that regarding the t-shirt of Bobby's, the end apartheid t-shirt, it could be that Clark doesn't really like Bobby, so that's why the t-shirt was there. But in any case, this all was very reminiscent of Silent Hill 2, which, spoiler for that game, a lot of the Silent Hill town is a representation of James's psyche and the bad things in there. Pyramid Head, the monster chasing him and the others, was a creation of his own mind. The bad traits that had been personified into this monstrous being. So it was very much like that with this pirate creature. Yes, the Backrooms environment seems to be a representation of, a reflection of Clark's mind, his subconscious. And Mary somehow enters that. So it appears to be that others can also enter into this environment, as we see with Mary, Kat, and Bobby. And once in this environment, it's as if wandering through someone else's subconscious. It's a very metaphorical environment. And we see at the end that it shifts towards Mary's subconscious because we see reflections from her life. Now, she seems to have had major trauma related to her daughter, because we've seen scenes in the film where her and her daughter are kept in a house. She doesn't allow her daughter to go on the outside or look outside. And that house was demolished. Mary doesn't seem to be in a good state in those times from her appearance, whereas throughout the main film, we see she's well-groomed, very calm, collected, as a therapist would be. But in any case, she has major trauma related to her daughter, who appears to be lost to her either she has lost custody or the girl has died for whatever reasons. And she keeps a little stone marking of her daughter's hand. That's her last remembrance of her daughter. So we see in the end of the film, in the Backrooms environment, the reflection of Mary's life with the demolished house, the print of her hand but not the daughter's, etc., etc. So what is the Backrooms? I didn't want to delve too much into Wikipedia and the actual Backrooms web series. Though when looking at the film, I did notice interdimensional mentioned. What struck me strongly throughout the movie was the sense of, is this reality? What is reality? The way the film is presented shows that reality depends on an outside context to judge. And when that outside context is taken away, one can't judge whether it is a made up place or reality. So the film plays into that notion quite a bit. And in the end, there is no resolution about Mary, whether she will leave there or where she is, in fact. So is the entire world backrooms? One inevitably is forced to answer. And the entire world, even when shown real in the movie, had a sort of stylized, unrealistic view, on purpose, of course. I think that there's much to reflect on. Besides the psychological aspect of the suppressed traits and forces in us, that was pretty clear. But more so the point about reality and what it is. It does remind one of Mulholland Drive, which deals with the same question of what is reality and is anything real. Also, Cube came to mind. Is everyone's psyche stored in this backrooms place? And they have found a way to enter it. If we were to explore, we would see Clark's, we would see Mary's, we would see mine and yours, everyone's, in an infinite space. And is that the explanation for mind itself? I don't know about that. Are we ourselves in some sort of backrooms? I hope you have a good day.